Clap it up. Let's clap it up. All right, all right, all right. Back once again. Tonight is Monday night. This is the history class. ISUPK, Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge history class. We're going to get into some history tonight. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about this up and coming election. You know, Most High told us not to elect anyone or put anyone over us that is not of us, meaning that is not of the 12 tribes of Israel. A problem with us as Israel, or we are so used to putting people or putting heathens or our oppressor over top of us. We believe that we can't govern ourselves. That's a bad thing. You understand? Every nation on this planet governs themselves. We are the only people who does not govern themselves. Why is that? The reason why is because we have chosen to follow the other nations. And in choosing to follow the other nations, that means we have turned away from the Most High. Turning away from the Most High is iniquity against the Most High. When you do something against your parents have to discipline you. You understand what I'm saying? So in actuality, we are being disciplined by our Father. The only thing we have to do is come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. Now, let's take on this Kamala Harris thing. You understand? Kamala Harris is not of us. You understand? She is not a black woman. She is a heathen. Kamala Harris is an oppressor. You understand? And that should have been evident when she was in California destroying Hispanics and brothers, you understand, as the AG of California. Understand? She was the Attorney General and she was the district attorney, you understand, in San Francisco, destroying brothers' lives, brothers that she knew was innocent. You understand? We have to stop allowing other nations to be over us. We are destroyed as a people, you understand? And we've been doing it since the civil rights era. You understand? Now we have to also understand that there was two civil rights eras. We had a civil rights era right after the Reconstruction. You understand? You had the civil rights era of 1866. Brothers have been fighting for civil rights since 1866. You understand? Now let me read something. It says in the beginning of the civil rights era, in the civil rights movement of 1866, Civil Rights Act of 1866 was the first United States federal law to define citizenship and affirm that all citizens are equally protected by the law. Now, just by that alone, we should understand that we are not protected by the law. If we are not protected by the law as our oppressor is, what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that we are not citizens. You understand? Citizens are protected by the law. And because we are not protected by the law, this is the reason why we're always fighting for civil rights. You understand? It was mainly intended in the wake of the American Civil War to protect the civil rights of persons of African descent born in or brought to the United States. It was intended, you understand? But when your oppressor creates the laws, your oppressor sees the laws and works the laws as he sees fit. You understand? Just like we said, listen, think about it, right? Brothers and sisters have been unalived on these streets of America since the beginning, since we hit the shores of America. Just had, what's her name? Sonia Macy. Sister was destroyed. And we clearly, think about this, right? In the early 1700s, or no, let's say in the early 1800s, when you saw a person unalive another person in such fashion, that person was dealt with immediately. You understand? When us, as the 12 tribes of Israel, as so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives, if we're caught doing something like that, we are dealt with immediately. Our oppressor has his day in court. He is innocent until proven guilty. We have brothers out there and sisters out there that believe He was justified in what he did. We are destroyed as a people, and this is the reason why we keep placing these people over top of us to rule over us. Think about this, right? The emancipation never freed the slaves of America. It only kept the Union together. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 was created to give the illusion of freedom. That's in the history books. The thing is we see these things and we fall in love with these things, not understanding that these things were created to keep us just where we are today. You understand? Listen to this. This is the definition of civil rights. Civil rights of citizens. Civil rights definition is the right of citizens to political and social freedoms and equality. If you look at what's going on, we don't have social freedom. We don't have equality. You understand? We were never intended to have these things, but they create laws to make us feel good about ourselves, to give us the illusion that we're included in America. We have never been included in America. Think about it now. Listen to this again. Listen to the definition of civil rights. It's the right of citizens to political and social freedom and equality. What's political freedom? We don't have political freedom. None of the politicians that are of us fight for us. We get no political freedom. With social freedom. Social freedom is the freedom to be able to express yourself as you see fit. But when you say something, especially on a social media channel, which is a channel where you are supposed to be able to express yourself, you get canceled out. They call it, what they call it, Facebook jail, YouTube jail, and all of this type of stuff. See, we used to this. You understand? And they make sure that they do that to us. But when someone from another nation does something to cross that social line, they are not disciplined as we are. We have to start understanding where we are. We are in captivity. Listen, it's the same thing that happened to us when we were in captivity in Egypt. You understand? It's no different. No social freedoms, no political freedoms, and no justice. You understand? No social freedoms, no political freedoms, and no justice. We are destroyed as a people. Now listen to this. And this definition is the definition of citizen, which comes from the Cornell School of Law. The definition of a citizen. Now, you got to listen to this clearly, right? Because our oppressor has a way with words. A citizen is a person who, by place of birth, nationality of one or both parents, or naturalization, is granted full rights and responsibilities as a member of a nation or political community. Listen, it says that they are granted. Our oppressor plays on the words. Now, if we are citizens of the United States, why are we fighting for civil rights? As a citizen, we should be privy to every right that America gives to citizens, but we are not. We are guilty until proven innocent. In America, it says you are innocent until proven guilty. We see that every day. We saw how Kamala Harris locked people up in San Francisco knowing that they were innocent and still threw the book at them, still did not free them. You understand? Because we are not citizens of America. We can be in America, but we do not have to be of America. Hey, Cap, if you can you give me, we're going to go to Psalms chapter 55, verse 21. Let me grab that while we in there. Psalms chapter, this is a bedrock scripture. This is basically almost a milk scripture. We use this scripture every day in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. This is a regular scripture that we use. You understand?
Psalms 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
Say that again.
The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. What does that sound like? It sounds like our oppressor. The words of our oppressor's mouth is smoother than butter, so much so that we believe everything that he says. We believe the things that he have created for us are intended for us to have a better life, but the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. It's just so smooth, and his words just rock us to sleep. We hear that word emancipation, and we truly believe we were freed. 1863, we believed that we were freed from our oppression. But in 2024, we are still being oppressed. How about that for civil rights? How about that for an emancipation? We talked about this a few weeks ago. What does emancipation mean? Emancipation only means to be taken from being private property into becoming state property. Remember, Abraham Lincoln only emancipated the slaves only to keep the Union together. And remember this, he only emancipated the slaves in the South. We never think about the slaves that were in the North, because the slaves in the North were not called or referred to as slaves. What were they referred to as? They were referred to as butlers and maids. They might have had a different outfit, but they got treated the same way. They might have ate just a little better, but they got treated the same way. They got unalived the same way. You understand? There was no difference. We let the words of his mouth rock us and lull us to sleep. We allow politicians to come in every 2 or 4 years to lull us to sleep and get our votes. We put all of our apples in one basket, not understanding that we have to give ourselves to the Most High. That's where we're supposed to be placing our apples, in the Most High. You understand? Read on, Cap.
Come. But war was in his heart.
Listen, but war was in his heart. Listen, if our oppressor does anything for us and it seems like it's good, there's always an end destruction for us. It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. Listen, that's all our oppressor knows. I mean, think about it. Look at it now. Our oppressor is warring in Afghanistan still, after he said he would not be in Afghanistan after a certain amount of time. They're still unaliving Afghanistans right now to this day. Still bombing in Afghanistan. Still bombing in Syria. Bombing in Russia. Allowing the Ukrainians to be destroyed. They bombing the Palestinians. Listen, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war is in his heart. That's it. That's our oppressor. We continually feed and feed and feed our oppressor while taking and taking and taking away from ourselves. We are destroyed as a people. Look at Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris said nothing about black people for 3.5 years. She did not refer to an HBCU the whole time she's been vice president. She did not eat a collard green for 20 years. Now, all of a sudden, she needs you. So she gonna hot sauce her greens down. She gonna wear sneakers and pearls. She gonna talk with a country accent. You seen that? It was pitiful. And listen, it wasn't pitiful in her. It was pitiful that we fell for it. The words of his mouth, the words of her mouth is smoother than butter. But definitely Kamala Harris has war in her heart. So much so that if she, go ahead, but if she was to become president, she would further crush us into powder. Listen, her agenda is no different from Clinton's agenda, from Bush's agenda, from Obama's agenda, from Trump's agenda, and from Biden's agenda. Nothing is, go ahead, Cap.
If I could, people act like she's not a part of Biden's administration.
Hey, listen, he just said, Cap just said, people believe that she's not a part of Biden's administration, which she is. Go ahead.
And everybody that's talking about free Palestine is voting for potentially Biden again, basically.
Right.
It's the same, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's the same word. It's the same wing. It's the same wing on the same bird. Hey, listen. Regardless of what happens, right? Listen, we always say this. This is the Republicans and the Democrats are two wings of the same bird. Regardless of what wing they are, they both flying in the same direction. You understand? They both have an agenda. The agenda is who's going to own the slaves for the next 4 years. We've been owned by Biden.
Right.
You understand? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Think about what he said, right? He said that you're not black if you don't vote for him. A slap in the face. What did Kamala Harris say? I'm not doing anything just for black people. But didn't they do something just for Asians? Didn't they do something just for the LGBTQ? Didn't they do something just for transgenders? Didn't they do something just for the Ukrainians coming across the border? Didn't they do something just for the Afghans? And this is the woman we're gonna vote for, huh? This is your champion. This is your king. We destroy because we don't know who our king is. Our king is the Most High. You understand? We destroyed. Got up. Let me do this. Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. Yeah, finish this off, Cap.
His words were smoother than oil.
Listen, his words are smoother than oil. They lull us to sleep with their talk. Listen, what do they do?
That's the whole point of the rabbis. It's like
The promises. It's the whole promises. Every time those 4 years come up, they come around to all the black churches. Think about this, right? They come around to all the black churches and make all the promises in the world. I'm going to do this. Listen, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna give you something personal, right? Living on Wilkins Avenue, we had a messed up little football field that the kids used to play on. They said, we're going to come up here. They gave the kids football uniforms. We're going to fix the field up. We're going to put artificial turf down. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that. That was 5 years ago. Guess what they did? Started gentrifying. You understand? The words of their mouth was softer than oil. They get you going and get you rallying behind them. That oil, it's just so silky smooth. It just has you gone. It just, go ahead.
just to add what you were saying, he speak on criminal code.
Oh my God, listen. Oh my.
Hold up, not only that, horseshoe recently, and when they rolled in the lottery.
I'm going to go back further. I was going to go back there. Listen, Cap just brought it up. 1972 or 73, when the lottery first started in Maryland. This lottery was supposed to help the schools in Baltimore, make the schools better, get air conditioning in the schools, get heating, get better heating in the schools, get better books and get things that kids needed in the schools. We got schools closing. Again, The horseshoe cane, gambling. Oh, this is going to bring in millions of dollars a year. This is going to help. Words are smoother than oil. This is going to help the children. And listen, that's one of those smooth things that they kill us with. That's the thing that they lull us to school with when they talk about the children. Because listen, as Israel, as the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives, they know we truly treasure our children. They know we truly love our children so much so that we will do anything to help our kids. These are the vices that they use against us. This is the oil that they lull us with. You understand? This is, oh man, you brought that, you went back. And listen, I was living, right?
The most recent one was the electronic sports betting, FanDuel.
Man.
Did the same thing. That's it.
Yes, with the FanDuel, they said the same thing too. Now think about this, right? In 1978, 79, and 80, I was living up off of Park Heights in Belvedere. I was living across from the Pimlico racetrack. I remember when they said they was going to revitalize the whole neighborhood and all of those black stores. Listen, black stores that was right there on Park Heights in Belvedere. They're going to revitalize them, rebuild all of them, so when that Pimlico race came into town, all of those stores would be fresh and new, would make money and benefit off of that Pimlico racetrack. How many years ago? What was that? 78, 88, 98, 2008, 18. This is over 40 years ago. Look at Park Heights now. You understand? Oh, wait a minute. But guess whose storefront did change? Cinderella's. Guess who Cinderella was owned by? An oppressor. No, Small Hat. And hold up, wait a minute. I'm going to go further than that. A S.A. Small Hat. A S.A. Small Hat. Yeah, listen. Guess who got the money on Pimlico, up at Pimlico Racetrack, right there on Park Heights? The one person that they really care about. You understand? We got to stop thinking that these other nations care about us. 1978. You understand? 40 years, over 40 years, and we still haven't received anything. Listen, what's that? In 28, it'll be 50 years, wouldn't it? 2028, it'll be 50 years, and Pimlico Racetrack has not given that community a dime. Man, when are we going to wake up? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. Listen, his words were softer than oil. Go ahead.
Come. Yet were they drawn swords.
Yet were they drawn swords. Listen, this is where gentrification came in. Listen, all of these neighborhoods are being gentrified. They talked about moving Pimlico, that Preakness out of Pimlico 3 years ago. But guess what they did? They started revitalizing the Pimlico racetrack. Why would they revitalize that racetrack? Because they're about to move brothers and sisters right up out of that neighborhood. It's about to be gentrified. They've already started it. Listen, right on the other side of Northern Parkway is where the Small Hats live at. Do you really believe that they're going to have that community and then have this side of the community looking like that for all of these years and not gentrified? Listen, it's hitting us everywhere. It's hitting us everywhere because we truly want to believe our oppressor. We truly fall for the words of his mouth that are smoother than butter. You understand? Definition of citizen. A citizen is a person who by place of birth, nationality, or one or both parents or naturalization is granted. Is granted. Now listen, they'll use that. That's the softer than oil word right there, is granted. That means you either get it or they have to give it to you. And because we're not being treated like citizens, they have not given it to us. You have to look at every word, and this is the reason why The Most High tells us not to make covenants with our oppressor, not to make covenants with the heathen nations, not to shake hands with them. Listen, everything that they've promised us, they just talked about that. They just talked about every administration all the way back from Ronald Reagan. They talked about everything that they promised so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. They have broken every promise that they said to us. And we continually fall for this. Now it's Kamala Harris's turn. Are we truly going to fall for this again? Are we truly going to go for her bull crap? I sure hope we don't. Think about this, right? Definition of social freedom. Social freedom is a social relationship that can be defined by the absence or force between individuals when they act in groups or institutions. It can also be defined as the ability to express thoughts, feelings, and will without persecution from the social environment. Think about what happens to you when you get on social media and you say something that no one likes or somebody doesn't like. You get persecuted. Think about this, Cap. Would a social freedom be what Nick Cannon said he believed when he was on that interview? That's a social freedom, because that's what he believes. But he was persecuted for that.
Right.
Kyrie Irving just showed the book that he believed everybody should see, and he was persecuted for it. When you believe in something and someone persecutes you for it, that's a social freedom being taken from you. Go ahead.
We don't work. Freedom of speech is faulty when it comes to black folks.
Right.
Freedom of religion is faulty. Freedom of press, which is the internet, which is a post,
Right.
is faulty when it comes, especially if you got power and influence.
Right. But think about this, right? When they told Jeff Bezos that he couldn't sell that book no more, what did he tell him? He's selling it anyway. What happened to him? He got social freedom. He has the freedom to express himself and say what he believes. This is how you should know that we are in captivity. We are not allowed to do what we want to do.
Right.
We are not allowed to say what we want to say.
Right.
You understand? We are not even allowed to live where we want to live. If we were allowed to live where we wanted to live, there would be no such thing as gentrification. There would be no such thing as redlining. There would be no such thing as segregation. Think about it, right? A lot of people believe segregation is over. Segregation is alive and well. When they control and tell you where you can live and where you can't, they don't say it out. They just say, oh, well, you don't, 3 times the rent. Oh, well, your income doesn't allow you to, live in that neighborhood.
Right.
You understand? That's redlining. You understand? That's a sort of a form of gentrification. When the rent goes up 2 and 3 times what you can afford, that's segregation. We're not going to say you can't live there, you got to get out. So what we're going to do is we're going to create environments to where you decide to get up and move. That's the new segregation. You understand? What is it? Redlining and gentrification. That's the new segregation. You understand? It should be a time where we don't believe in segregation. We believe in what do we believe in? We believe in separation. The Most High separated us from them, and that's how it should be. We should determine where we're going to live, and we should live amongst our own. We should police our own. You understand? Instead of always calling for, we need more police, and every time we get more police, We get more brothers and sisters get clocked over the head. You understand? Being abused.
Right.
Man. Economic freedom. Got a definition for economic freedom because we don't have economic freedom. Think about it. In the 50s and the 40s, we did have economic freedom. We had our own schools. We had our own hospitals. We had our own restaurants. We had our own movie theaters. You understand? We had our own banks. We had to rely on ourselves because they would not help us. So we prospered. In the, what was that? The Great Depression of the 1920s. Through that Great Depression, we weren't going through the Great Depression. You understand? We were prospering. We were prospering because we had our own cities and towns. We relied on our own people. Listen, in the 1920s and 30s, it took $1 1 year to leave our community. 1 year. Because we had to rely on our people. We had to go to our own shoemakers. We had to go to our own seamstress. We had to go to our own barbers. We had to go to our own restaurants. We had to rely on us. Listen, Zephaniah 2:1 says what? Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. Those people in the 20s and the 30s, they understood that they were a nation of people that were not desired. When are we going to come back to that? When are we going to come back to understanding? You understand? When are we going to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments? We destroyed as a people. We have to understand that we are all we got. Listen, we have 12 tribes within us that are greater than all of the other nations combined. If that not be true, why does every nation come over here and feed off of us? Wherever we are, the nations feed off of us, whether we're in the UK, whether we're in the Caribbean islands, whether we're in Central and South America, whether we're in America. Even if we're over in Afghanistan or in those African nations amongst the Africans, which we are not, they feed off of us. When are we going to feed off of our own people? When are we going to feed each other? That's what Zephaniah 2:1 is talking about. Gather together, O nation not desired. That's what we have to do. You understand? Economic freedom is the ability of individuals to make economic decisions. Think about this, choices made about how to use resources to achieve the best possible outcome. Coming together. Think about it, right? The Asians come over here, they take one of our economic resources, the beauty supply industry, knowing our women buy it by the truckload. They don't even use this stuff. But how do they control that industry? How do they control that industry? Because we have given it to them. Every nation that comes over here, they don't take over the industry, we give it to them. They get funded, but that doesn't mean we have to buy from them. What nation buys from that beauty supply industry? Just us. Yeah, you got some people out there of other nations that get their nails done, but not the way we do, not to where they can have $1 billion industry. That's supposed to be us. Our women supposed to be controlling that. We supposed to be building banks off of that. They supposed to be erecting schools just off of that industry alone. Then the soul food industry, how do we give that away? How do we allow Asians to come in and fix soul food? How do we allow the Arabs to come in and fry chicken? And listen, even in the movies, I've never seen Arabs fry chicken. How do we give it to them? We just give everything that we got away. We are a spoil to all the other nations. Destroy. Because what? Hosea chapter 4, verse 6.
Hosea chapter 4, verse 6.
Man, you got there quick, goddamn.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
Read that again.
My people.
It says my people. The Most High says my people. That's ownership. We are the people of the Most High. We are the jewel of the Most High. We are the diamonds and pearls of the Most High. We are his gold. We are his silver. It says my people, go ahead,
No.
are destroyed.
Are destroyed
We are destroyed. For what?
for lack of knowledge.
For lack of knowledge. Where do we get our knowledge from? We get our knowledge from right here from these scriptures. Listen, anything that we go through, anything that happens, we can find the answers right here in these scriptures. Scriptures got everything for us. We don't need to go anywhere else. Everything that we need to do, whether it be laws, whether it be a dietary law, whether it be how to operate amongst our brothers and sisters, whether it be intermarrying, talking about intermarrying, intermingling with the other nations, it tells us what to do and what not to do. It tells us if we go or we do something against a brother, how to mend that. You understand? It tells us how to operate against an untrustworthy heathen. Everything we need to know is right here in this book. Go ahead, Cap.
Come. Because thou hast rejected knowledge,
Go ahead.
I will also reject thee.
Listen, because we've rejected the knowledge that the Most High has given us, the Most High has rejected us. Listen, it's really not like the Most High has rejected us, but we choose to do and go against the Most High. And in going against the Most High, we are rejecting him. So he's rejecting us. You understand? Go ahead.
That thou shalt be no priest to me,
Go ahead.
seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power.
Seeing that we have forgotten the law of the Most High, go ahead.
I will also forget thy children.
And look at our children today. Look at the generation after generation. We have been destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and so much so that it's passed down from generation to generation to generation. Everything that we have learned to do to destroy ourselves, we pass down to our children, and our children pass it down to their children, and so on. And here we are, almost 500 years of destruction, of being destroyed. Look at us. As a people, we have the answer. Listen, what did Christ say? Christ said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Listen, we have the power to change our situation. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. We have the power to change what we're going through. All we have to do is gather together and understand that we are a nation of people that are not desired. Once we understand that, we understand who our enemies are. That's another thing. We don't understand who our enemies are. Kamala Harris is an enemy. Joe Biden is an enemy. Obama is an enemy. Clinton is an enemy. All of those presidents that have been presidents have always been enemies to us. There is not a president that has been a president that has been an ally to us. All of those presidents have been enemies.
Right.
You understand? Let's grab Ecclesiasticus 12 and 16 in the Apocrypha. Listen, our people gonna go out here, they're gonna vote for Kamala Harris because she's a black, or, well, hold up. This is what she does. She calls herself a woman of color. You understand? She calls herself a woman of color. And that's a creative way of fooling our women. You understand? A woman of color. What's a woman of color? That's any woman with color in her skin. That can be an Arab, that can be an Asian, that can be an Egyptian, an African, that could be any woman. She never says she's a black woman. She calls herself a woman of color, and she ain't done that in 3.5 years. Right now, she needs us. She needs you black women. So she calls herself a woman of color. You got that, Cap?
12 to 16.
Come on, sir.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips.
Hey, listen, she calls herself a woman of color. She's speaking sweetly with her lips. She wants to lull you to sleep with her words. That's what she does. A woman of color. Listen, what do they call that? That's a dog whistle. It's a dog whistle in reverse, because it gets you to fall for her nonsense, her bull. She calls herself a woman of color. An enemy speaks sweetly with their lips. Read on.
Come. But in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit.
Now, how many times has Kamala Harris thrown our brothers and sisters into a pit? That's her whole career in California. Throwing brothers into pits. Destroying brothers' lives. Destroying their livelihood. That's her MO. Listen, this is the problem with our sisters. Our sisters look at, our sisters look skin deep. That's it. If she look like us, she gotta be us. But her actions show otherwise. And maybe if you had looked at some history, maybe if you had went down her family tree, you would understand who she truly is. She didn't marry an oppressor by happenstance. Kamala Harris is an oppressor. Look at her grandfather. Her grandfather was an oppressor. With a sister. That's what made her father. That's where her father got his color from. And that's why he looks the way he looks. But he's an oppressor too, which makes Kamala Harris an oppressor. An enemy speaks sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. And that's exactly what her plan is. Listen, her plan is, what do they call it? Not police reform, but what do they call it when they say they're going to up the police ante? She's back in the police. Put it like that. Yeah, she back in the blue, definitely. That's her. Listen, that's what she did in California. That's the plan she's bringing forth if she becomes president. Now, it doesn't matter which way it goes either way, but we need to know who our enemies are, and anybody running for president is our enemy. We haven't, let me change that. Let me rephrase that, right? Anybody at the forefront of this presidential race, because I do believe they still got Cornel West running, right? He's still running. He's a brother, but he's not at the forefront. Kamala Harris, Trump is at the forefront. You understand? Even that Kennedy.
They already been selected.
Yeah, they already been selected. Listen. When you voting for a president, you don't vote for who you want. You're voting from who they choose. So it's not really you choosing. You're giving someone to choose from. That's not a choice. Because I'm pretty sure if we was to vote for a president, we'd vote for Commanding General Yohana. We'd make him our president. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already have a ranking system, but we continually put people over us who are not of us
Not chosen by
and not chosen by the Most High. You understand? Where we at? Into a pit. Into a pit.
Come. To throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes.
He
But-
will. Go ahead.
But if he found opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood.
Hey, listen, it says he will weep with his eyes. Look, he will look concerned. He will look like he sympathizes with you. You understand? But if he find the opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. Listen, that's just like when we see our artists, our singers, our football players, our athletes. Every time they pass on, they always pass on broke. They always pass on. Listen, this is the crazy thing. When they said when Michael Jackson passed, they said he was only worth $200 and something thousand. Listen. The lawyer had to laugh at that because he knew it was a lie.
Right.
But they put us in positions to do certain things so that they can have everything that we got. You understand? They are never satisfied with blood. They are never satisfied with you just passing on. They need everything that you had. You understand? Blood is not enough for them. They need all your essence. Now they can take every record that he had, they can repost it, and then continually make money years after he's gone. And they do this with every artist. Whitney Houston, they're gonna make a mountain off of her.
Right.
You understand? But this is what that means. Go ahead.
Come. He will not be satisfied with blood.
Go ahead.
That's
17. Listen, our oppressor could never be satisfied with blood. You understand? This is the reason why we got to work 2 and 3 jobs. You understand? Because they're not satisfied with blood. They're not satisfied until you drop and pass on. You understand? And then they can take all of that money that they built up off of you, that 401k, all those taxes that they taken from you, and go buy an island like what? Jeffrey Epstein. Go buy an island. You understand? How can someone make so much money that they can own an island? You understand? Off the backs of the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. That's how they do it. We look at these people, Jeff Bezos and what's his name, Mark Zuckerberg. Listen, Mark Zuckerberg has made a killing off of so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. All of that stuff that we do on YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that, they making a killing. I wonder, can we make a face? Can we make a app or something? You know what I mean? I mean, think about it, right? Because, listen, if I created an app, right, I would let y'all do what y'all want to do and express yourself, and I wouldn't censor anybody. Come to us. You know what I mean? Listen, because, I mean, think about it, right? You get a certain amount of views. They give you a certain percentage of money. I know it's people that actually sit and YouTube is their job. They make money off of YouTube. So think about this, and everybody, you have to think about this, right? This also goes, I'm gonna go somewhere else with it too, right? You get paid off of YouTube, and there are people, brothers and sisters, that are making money off of YouTube. So if the oppressor's paying you off of YouTube, can you imagine what he's making off of you? So now, if an oppressor can pay LeBron $120 million, can you imagine what he's making? $120 billion. Yeah, you have to. You have to. You understand? That's the only way. Listen, Kevin Garnett, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin Garnett was the first $100 million man. Kevin Garnett, I believe, remember he came straight out of high school. He came out of high school, and I believe he was the first $100 million man because Kobe came out after him. But if you can give somebody $100 million, can you imagine what they making? I mean, just to say that you got it. And our oppressor is not generous. Look at Jerry Jones. Now, I want to ask another question, right? Did Jerry Jones go to school for oil? Or did his family rob for oil fields?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? There was something called the land grab back in the 1700s, right? The land grab was they had oppressors coming from other nations to come over here to help build America up. They gave them as much land as you could put sticks down into the ground. The land was free. But what made that land have value? What made the land have value?
Right.
Somebody, what made the land have value? This is what made that land have value. Slaves. Slaves gave the land value. Listen, we are what America runs on. America does not run on Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on us.
Right.
We have to understand our value. I don't want to get too far off, but that BET Awards show was a shame. Shamed us. And guess how much BET made off of that show? $1 billion. And they made that $1 billion off the backs of blacks, Hispanics, and natives. We have to understand our value. We don't have any rights in America, but we have every right if we come together, we gather together.
Right.
You understand? You can drop that, Cap.
Still on 17?
Okay, yeah, let's finish that 17 off. Let's finish that off.
Verse 17. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first.
Hey, listen, if adversity come upon us, they shall find us there first. Listen, you remember that? Did you get to see that movie, the Boys in the Hood movie? Not the I'm talking about the Straight Outta Compton.
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, and Straight Outta Compton,
No,
that's the newer one, right? That told how they got up and how they got on top, right? But in one part of that, Eazy-E fired Jerry Heller. Jerry Heller was the one that was robbing them the whole time. If adversity come upon thee, they shall find him there first. Listen, with New Edition. Same thing with any black group out there that you know. You know what I mean? Any black.
Megan Thee Stallion herself when she first started.
Right, exactly. Listen, Beanie Siegel talked about how when he first came in, they gave him a $100,000 advance. They give you a $100,000 advance, and then they put interest on that. Now, this is the thing that I don't understand, right? I would like to see these executives make money off of just some beats. Because a beat is nothing until you put the artist on there. So if the artist makes the beat, if the artist makes the song, if the artist has to go out there and perform, because you can't go out there and just play music and think people are gonna pay to come hear that. It has to be somebody on stage. So why does the artist get paid last? Why is their percentage always the smallest percentage? You understand? I have never seen anybody go out there, create beats, and then make money and do shows just playing beats. Takes an artist. But if adversity comes upon thee, they shall find him there first. You understand? Go ahead.
And though he pretend to help thee,
And though he pretend, listen, this is what all of these record producers and art and executives do. They pretend to help you.
they praying. Like, how can
They,
they bad?
you got it. You got it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
They praying on you. They know your talent. They know your worth. Rather than helping you get to a particular point of freedom, really freedom, to
Right.
be honest with you, they making you a slave instead.
Right. Because the whole time, what do? They put you in debt. Think about this, right? I heard an artist just say last week, they was talking about it. He said his first deal was a 5-record deal. Think about this, right? A 5-record deal means you gotta have record after record after record after record, and your 5-record deal has to be done in a certain amount of time. If your 5-record deal, if you come up late or anything like that, it comes off of you. Listen, it says, if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. Go ahead. Though he pretend to help thee,
Yet shall he undermine thee.
and that's what happens to us all the time. Civil rights does the same thing to us. Civil rights undermines us. Just as the record industry does, just as athletic executives do, civil rights does the same thing, undermines us. Listen, every nation comes over here and benefits off of civil rights, and we are the only one that civil rights does not benefit. Civil rights was created for black people. And black people are the only people that don't benefit off of civil rights. And I'm speaking, when I say blacks, I'm talking about blacks, Hispanics, and natives. This is the reason why we as blacks are in prison. This is the reason why they got the Hispanics in prisons on the border. This is the reason why they got the natives in concentration camps, or i.e., what do they call it? Reservations. Listen, even on the reservation, a native can't even do what he wants. He has to get permission from the government. After the government said, wait a minute, didn't they give them, what do they call it, Cap? Sovereignty. The native nations are supposed to have sovereignty on those reservations, but they still have to get permission from the United States government to build on their own land. How is that? Listen. It says, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. Listen, the natives believed that they were being helped, but the whole time they were being undermined. In 1871, they created the labor union. We thought it was helping us, but the whole time it was undermining us. The labor union kept us out of work. You understand? America went over and destroyed Central and South America, so much so that the Hispanics had to run across the border, come across the border, get paid $4 or $5 an hour, only to be arrested and thrown back to the other side of the border or put in cages. We are destroyed as a people. Man. Instead, laws created by the oppressor put us in bondage, and many times we don't recognize that the very same laws that we intermarry ourselves with, i.e., vote for, are created to keep us in bondage. That's what's happening to us. Listen, this is one that I use all the time. I've been using this almost since I came into UPK, right? The Maryland Doctrine of Exclusion of 1638. No slave, descendant of a slave, nor black person shall enjoy the fruits of white society. Now, what we have to do is we have to understand what are the fruits of white society. What's the fruits of white society? is to be able to live in a community of your choosing peacefully without redlining or gentrification. See, our oppressor is not being redlined or gentrified. You understand? That's a fruit of white society, being able to live wherever you want to live peacefully. We have never been able to live where we wanted to live peacefully. You understand? What's another fruit of white society? To be able to own land, control, and build at your own discretion. We just talked about that, about the natives, right? The natives have sovereignty on their own land, but don't get to build on their own land without permission from the United States government. That's a fruit of white society. These are the things that we don't have. You understand? What's another fruit of white society? We talked about this earlier. Freedom of speech and expression of your own thoughts and feelings. We can't do that. You understand? What did they call it? What did they say you? What did they call it? They talked about Facebook jail. Put you in Facebook jail, or they make you go on TV and apologize for your thoughts and feelings. They charge you $500,000 and then send you to rabbi courses to get you to understand who you are not. You understand? What's another one? To create a society for or a safe space for your people or nation. When we try to move off and be amongst our own, they call us racist. But when our oppressor does it, he said he just protecting his interest. You understand? He doesn't get called a racist. You understand? These are the fruits of white society. The fruits of white society are having your own hospitals, having your own schools, teaching your own children. That's a fruit of white society. Listen, Cap, I just told my rib the other day, I said I didn't even know that my kindergarten, first and second grade teacher, I didn't even know they were small hats. Listen, one of my teachers, my kindergarten teacher name was Miss Cohen. Didn't realize she was a small hat until I got older. You understand? We allow other nations of people to propagandize us, to make us believe what they want us to believe. That's what civil rights does for us. It puts other people in control of us. Civil rights has never worked for us. Listen, we have to take control of our own lives. We have to start teaching our children. Yeah, your child can go to one of these schools, but we have to decompress them when they come home. You understand what I'm saying? We have to teach them what the truth is. All of these years that I thought, Thanksgiving was two different people coming together, and because they made it through a winter, they had a big feast together, and that was the end. That's what we're taught in school. We were never taught that people were unalived, and every time they unalived another nation of people, they gave thanks and had a Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
You understand? They had so many Thanksgiving dinners that Abraham Lincoln said we should do it just once a month. Then he eventually changed the law and they had it once a year. We got to... Yeah, we don't even know the origins of what we celebrate. You understand? I talk about the Pamunkey peace talks. They poisoned a whole tribe of people. And the ones that didn't drink the poison that they put into the wine, they bludgeoned to death. They unalived them. A whole nation. And guess who? You know what nation that eventually was? You ever heard of the Powhatan? Powhatan tribe. Listen, out Woodlawn, you ever been to Powhatan out Woodlawn? They got a whole area called Powhatan, named after those Indians. Yeah, named after those Indians. Listen, in Delaware, they got a whole section. When you come into this part of Delaware, they got the totem poles that you come through. Huge totem poles. It's called, oh man. They got a whole, Bethany Beach. Bethany Beach. When you come into Bethany Beach, you come in between two totem poles.
Listen, when we go down to Eastern Shore this week, a lot of those street names, like Somerset and all those, especially down in Ocean City,
Yeah,
those are a lot of North American
In-
Indian names.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yep.
Y'all gonna see online where
It's amazing. It's amazing that after all these years, right, you know, we still not getting it. You understand? And we still out here debating about who we gonna vote for, who we should vote for. And then the thing that really kills me is when we start saying, well, we gotta vote for somebody, we gotta vote for the lesser of two evils. We don't have to vote for evil at all. You can be, we always say this, you can be in a nation, but you don't have to be of a nation. We can be in America, but we don't have to be of America. You understand? We can be, think about it, right? Asians come over here and they live in Potomac, Maryland. They don't get up and rush out to vote, but they have their whole own area. The East Indians even got an area over there in Potomac. Their whole own, they don't rush out to vote. How do they do it? They come together. Listen, if you go into Acts, the 4th chapter, the 31st through the 34th verse, it tells you how to act amongst your own people, how to take care of your own people. What is that called? What do they call that? Ethnic aggregation. Ethno-aggregation. You understand? That's Acts, the 4th chapter, the 31st through the 34th verse. You understand? Ethno-aggregation. Coming together, taking your resources, and taking care of your own people. Ethno-aggregation. You understand? Now, let's see, that's the Maryland doctrine of exclusion. You understand? Let's see, another form of white society that we don't have or that we don't enjoy is teaching our own children real American history, which is critical race theory. Critical race theory is true American history, but because of civil rights, we live under the laws where an oppressor can make a law where we can't teach real American history. What's his name? Ron DeSantis in Florida? Is that him in Florida, right? He's the one that says he doesn't want to teach critical race theory. And now all of these other governors don't want to teach critical race theory. What is critical race theory? It's real American history.
You know, discussing about it, he hired a black staff to come up with, it was his work. You already did the story, y'all ain't seen it.
Listen. This is why we are destroyed. Oppression maketh a wise man mad, but a gift destroyeth the heart. We have our own people helping our oppressor to create laws, not to teach real American history. Listen, we'll take a couple of pieces of silver to destroy a whole nation of our own people. Say thank you to Martin Luther King. Say thank you to James Farmer. Say thank you to John Lewis. Say thank you to Bayard Rustin. Oh, wait a minute. Guess who I got in here? Guess who I got? Think about this now, right? This is the so-called leaders of the civil rights movement. You got Martin Luther King, James Farmer, John Lewis, A. Philip Randolph, Roy Wilkins, and Whitney Young. Little known fact, is that Martin Luther King Jr. and the Big Six, in the beginning, were not a part of the March on Washington, and in fact, was not supposed to be a march on, it wasn't supposed to be a march on Washington, but a march on the White House. When President John F. Kennedy found out about the march, he called Martin Luther King and asked him to stop the march, but Martin Luther King told him that he couldn't stop the march because he didn't start it. So Kennedy pulled some strings and got Martin Luther King and the Big Six over the March on Washington. They turned around and got them to march to the Lincoln Memorial. The original march started by the grassroots and the youth back in those days. You understand? That's where the grassroots started at. The youth started that because they were sick and tired of being underemployed and what they call it, wasn't getting the pay that they deserved. You understand? That movement started to demand fair wages, jobs, and economic justice. The Big Six were paid $1.5 million. Check this out, Cap. Listen to this. To divert the march. Half would be paid before the march. If it was successful, the other half was given after the march. They actually got paid to de-escalate the march. They received $250,000 apiece. Now, listen to this. In today's value, that was $2.6 million. 2.6. Think about it. In today, $250,000 they got apiece. In today's money, $250,000 was $2.6 million. They got half before the march, and then they got the other half after the march, as long as that march was successful. That's where you heard that "I have a dream" speech. And his dream was to get that $250,000. You ever see that speech where he said, "And we coming to get our check"? They got their check. See, Martin Luther King and the Big Six got their check. Listen, when we talked about oppression maketh a wise man mad, but a gift destroyeth the heart of them civil rights leaders was destroyed because they took money over their people. They would rather see their people destroyed. And that's what they did. But guess what? I want to go to, before I do that, let's do this. 2 months before that march, the Big Six, let me see. The Big Six broadened their organization, their organizing coalition by bringing on board 4 oppressors who supported their effort. I know you heard me say this one before, Cap. The real leaders of the civil rights movement in the 60s was Walter Reuther, the president of the United Automobile Workers of America, right? He organized one of the biggest automobile unions in America. They often say that he was assassinated because when he got into a dispute with the other organizers, and he eventually left the Automobile Unions of America and started another union. But before he could get that union started, mysteriously, him and his wife and one of his co-workers got into an airplane accident, a private jet accident. His Lear jet just happened to crash to the side of a hill. You understand?
Yes.
But listen, no, that's history. No, that's history. I ain't, that's no conspiracy, that's history. Yeah, that's history. Yeah, I know we don't do conspiracy. We don't do conspiracy, I got that. Listen, Eugene Carson Blake, former president of the National Council of Churches. Matthew Amon was an executive director of the National Catholic Conference for Interracial Justice. And guess who else? Joachim Prince, Prince of the American Jewish Congress. So they actually had a small hat in there with them. Now, those were the actual leaders who were pulling the strings of the Big Six. They were oppressors pulling the strings of the Big Six. It's going to be my last scripture right here, Cap. I want Joshua. I got to get there because you be too fast. Joshua chapter 23 and verse 12. You understand? And this is the problem with us. This is what we always talked about. The civil rights movement has us. The civil rights movement was a base of what we always do. The civil rights movement placed oppressors over top of themselves. And this is what we always do. We are always choosing oppressors or heathens to put over top of us.
Right.
If you choose Kamala Harris, you're putting an oppressor over top of you. If you choose Trump, you're putting an oppressor over top of you. And this is what we continually do, and we've been doing that since 1866. You got that, Cap?
Come.
Go ahead.
Joshua chapter 23, verse 12. Else if ye do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations.
And this is what we do. We cleave to the remnant of these nations. We cleave to these other nations. These other nations are falling apart, but we tend to go back and we tend to cleave and we bring them back up. Go ahead.
Even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them.
And this is what we do. We make marriages with them, shaking hands, making covenants with them, making agreements with them, tying yourselves to them in this voting thing. Go ahead.
And go in unto them, and they to you.
And when we mix with them, go ahead.
13. Know for a certainty that the Most High your power will no more drive out any of these nations from before you.
Listen, if we continue to be amongst these nations and continue to tie ourselves amongst these nations, the Most High is going to stop driving these nations out from amongst us. He's going to let us fester in these nations. Go ahead.
But they shall be snares.
So they shall be snares. Listen, these other nations are nothing but traps for us. We talked about that earlier. You understand? If they can be there, you understand? They're going to act like they love us, but the whole time they waiting to destroy us. Go ahead.
And traps.
And traps. You understand? Listen, child support is a trap. You understand? Welfare is a trap. Because we like to be amongst these nations. Listen, everybody liked, who was that, wasn't that Trump that gave us that stipend, that stipend check, that stimulus check? Everybody loved him for that. We cleaved to him for that. And this is what happened. You understand? He gave us one check and then nothing else. Go ahead.
And traps unto you, and surges and
Scourges.
and scourges in your side.
Hey, listen, they've been beating us like crazy. They've been scourging us. You know what a scourge is? A scourge is those little leather straps with the hooks on the end of them, just beating our backs, beating our backs. You understand? You got 2 or 3 jobs, your back is getting beat. You understand? You constantly late on your rent, getting them notices on your door, your back is being beat. And it's not just by happenstance. It's because we continually cleave unto these other nations. Go ahead.
And thorns in your eyes.
And thorns in our eyes. Go ahead.
Until you perish from off this good land which the Most High your power hath given you.
Hey, listen. The reason why we not living properly is because we follow and we keeping ourselves amongst these other nations. You understand? The Most High created this earth for our sake. We are supposed to be running this earth. No other nation is supposed to be over us. These other nations are supposed to be our footstool, but instead, we are a doormat to all the nations that come over here. The only way we come up out of this is if we come back to the Most High, come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments, get ourselves together, and be a family once again. With that, we're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Listen to this. Check this out, right? Listen to this. Got something else here, right? Listen, there's no honor in dying for a nation that neither cares for you nor loves you. That's Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 30. That's a scripture to go with that saying, right? There is honor in fighting for a nation that does not understand you, but are your people. That's Isaiah 58:1. With that, we're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. We've been bringing this truth since 1969. And what is that truth? That truth is that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives are the greatest people to ever walk the face of this earth, and the Bible identifies us as the true biblical Jews of the Bible. With that, pass the class over to Priest and Captain Sapari. Okay, got you. I got you. Let me get that. All right. Let's clap it up for that priest officer. Pass it up for that. Excellent class, brother. Let's give that brother a hand. Yeah. All right. All right, here we go. Security announcements. We're the ISUPK out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry, tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10, means 10th in the Hebrew, and is pronounced ma'ashra. A tenth of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the Treasury Department or priest fund, or teacher. Priest fund, a free will offering for the priest, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Up and coming Holy Convocation, what we got coming up? We also got a October, the memorial blowing of the trumpets. October the 2nd. And we got a cookout coming up in a couple of weeks, and Officer Uriah Allah is giving a family game night. That's what I meant. I said a Bible. A family game night. That's coming up. That's the 17th. That's the 8th. That's September the 8th. Yeah, so get your popcorn ready. Get ready to have some fun. We're having it right here at the school, so let's make it happen, you know. Remind Akim Aquathium to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUPK events and material. If a brother wants to be a troop in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, pants, shoes, shirts, headbands, and scarf. And with that, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher, men of Israel.
Men of Israel, Amayim Shabbat, Amayim, Barak, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatham,
Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatham.
Nayim Atam, dismissed.
Thank you.